Yvette, have you ever been dead set on a goal, started to working diligently on it, start seeing the change, and then out of the blue, life showed up?
I definitely have, and I think everybody has, because none of us live in a bubble. Things happen absolutely unpredictable, and it can really take you down.
Yeah, for sure. And we talk about life events. And today we are going to talk what if you're on a journey and life shows up, life happens to you, these life events that totally can have the power to derail you. What are you going to do? How are you going to handle it? So, for me and Yvette, we're working in a space where we deal with metabolic syndrome. And for those who don't know what that is, if you have a large waist circumference, high blood pressure, high triglycerides on your cholesterol panel, or a low HDL on your cholesterol panel, and high fasting blood sugar, you might fall in that category. And me and Yvette, we like to add cognitive decline to that one because many times our brains respond much faster to that level of inflammation than anything else in our body.
So, through this transformation that we work and help people with, it's by resetting the metabolism using a low carb, high fat diet. Now, Johann, the things you mentioned that in the category of the metabolic disease, if you don't take care of those, what would you be faced with?
The downstream effect of just making it normal, because we all have at some point gained a little bit of weight, and oh, that's normal for our age. We make it normal. But if you don't take care of it, there are these downstream effects that you might not think of that will come your way. One of them is heart disease. That's the first thing, if you think about your metabolism, that you really need to think of. Type 2 diabetes is sometimes inevitable. Kidney disease. For the ladies, PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Many times they have the polycystic ovarian syndrome. They go to the doctor and get treated with hormones. Instead, nobody ever looks at their metabolism. That is actually shocking. Another thing is cancer. And for the guys, erectile dysfunction can be a direct result of your metabolism being out of whack. So sometimes it is not the little blue pill that you need. It is something that you need to look at what you're putting in your mouth.
A point I want to make is just to quickly go back to that list of the metabolic disease and the ratios that they work on. Something that I find is probably the easiest measure that you can do without any labs, without having going anywhere. If your waist circumference as a man is above 40 inches, and for a woman above 35, that is the biggest dead giveaway of you falling in that category. So I thought I'd mention that because many people will wait till they go to the doctor, wait for their next labs, but that's one of the things you can use immediately.
For sure. And that is the easiest thing to measure. If you have a 38 inch pant and it doesn't fit anymore, guys, that means that's the mark, because your next one up is 40. And that is you're pushing that boundary. So it's an easy thing to do. And the ladies 35, if that 34 does not fit anymore, think about it. That's the easiest way to measure where you're at. And if people come to our house, Yvette, and they say, the guys with 38 pants does not fit anymore, I'm going to the 40. And the ladies, the 34, going to the 36. Do we ever put them in the P word? The P word is banned in our practice. You don't use that. We prefer the term that we will join you in a transformational journey, because a program usually has an end date. And like diets, people go on the egg diet for a week, 2 weeks, and then they're done, and then they just go back to what they were doing. If you're on a transformational journey, the destination of this journey is a transformation.
And this is the part where Johann and I are very honest. We will be very delusional to tell you that any journey is perfect, because life happens and nothing is perfect. But what if you set up and you are prepared mentally, physically, things around you? How am I going to handle if there is this life event that happens? So this is where we take you by the hand every step, help you through the journey. There could be some obstacles, some mountains, some valleys to go through. And today we want to discuss a couple of those, just, so people can be aware that, as you said, this journey is something that is a lifelong change. It's not a beginning to end program.
For sure. And some of those life events, like I say, the life events is the ones that's going to derail you or has the power to derail you. And you have to be set up in that place where you can have power over the life event. And some of them are pretty tough. I'm thinking as specifically like a family crisis. A few years ago, my dad passed away, and it totally changed my life. Things that I was not used to doing, I did. And you just grab on everything outside of the box in order to soothe your emotional pain. And you don't know what you're doing. And you have no, you're not prepared for something to hit you that fast, that hard. And then if that happens, that's a true life event that you need to learn how to deal with it.
And again, it's not something that we deal with on a daily basis. It's easier for you and me to be able to grow accustomed to have a certain mannerism, how to treat situations we deal with every day. But that's a huge life event. And that is where, you've got to give yourself some grace. You've got to be loving and kind to yourself, and then have mechanisms and things in place so you can find yourself back. And this takes me to probably one of the biggest examples of where we fail, where life happens, and that's the battlefield of the mind. So many times when we start on a new journey, and this is now a total life change, the devil is a liar, and the devil will remind you of, you've tried things in the past. It didn't succeed. What makes this any different? And that little voice keeps going and going. You keep thinking of things where you did succeed up to a point and you failed. So you're constantly reminding yourself of your failures. How am I going to handle this? So we want you to realize that the way you think is the way you are. And we can change the way we think. It's been proven in science that there's new neurological pathways formed when you think differently. We look at the passage where Paul speaks about renewing your mind every day. God knew what he was doing when he gave those words to Paul, because that actually really works.
For sure. And if you join in a journey with us, one of the first things we do is mindset. We'll talk about how you got to see yourself. And there's a verse in Proverbs that says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And that's why we also set up, and I'll put this in the show notes as well, we have a list of I am affirmations that we want people to repeat every day in order to tell yourself, because we humans are amazing things. We listen to ourselves better than what we listen to somebody else. So if you read through those and make them your own, you yourself are going to listen to yourself. And it is sometimes very valuable to, instead of saying that you're a loser, saying that I can do all things through Christ that gives me strength. So think about, I'll put those I am affirmations in the notes and read them. Read them out loud so that you can hear them.
And we have so many conversations with ourselves, and I know I can be very much in my head. I sometimes have the whole discussion. I even come back with an answer, and then I haven't even spoken to anybody else. And it's something we can fall prey to in going back to the way we were thinking versus moving forward into our strengths and who we are and what we should believe about ourselves. And I think those affirmations is absolutely powerful. Johann's put down a fantastic list there that really can make a difference for us in your daily walk. So, Johann, one of the next things we talk about a lot is stress.
Yes.
Now, stress, when people say that, sometimes it can be such a generic word. What do you mean with stress?
One thing about stress, and sometimes comes so subtle, you can experience stress from work. One of the biggest stressors that people experience sometimes is family. I hope it's not you. But stress can creep in everywhere, and even in the smallest little bit. If I know what is the saddest thing to me is when it gets to Christmas time, I want everybody to be festive and happy and joyful. And did you know that Christmas time can be the reason for so much stress for people, because now they're going to have to see those family that is actually causing them to have a stress problem. And the problem with stress is, how stress can derail you is when you're not stressed, it's easy for you to put up your guard, to follow the direction, to stay on your journey in
Uh-huh.
order to get to the transformational destination. It's easy when you're not stressed. The moment that stress creep in from work, from finance, from family, or however, our brains, I always talk about our primitive brain. We want to go back. Our brain says, last time I've been in this much stress, this is what I did.
It was comfortable there.
I was poured a glass of whiskey. I ate a piece of chocolate cake. I ate a bucket of ice cream. And immediately you think, I'm so stressed, I think I need to eat a bucket of ice cream.
And you convince yourself quickly.
Yes,
We've all been there.
that is what's going to fix you. And that is why you have to make up your mind beforehand. In Civil Air Patrol, we have a saying, we call it the 4 Ps, PP, and it stands for preparation prevents poor performance. That's why it is such an important thing to win the battlefield of your mind before you set on a journey. So you can make up your mind on what are you going to do when these events happen, so that you can stand strong and know that God won't let you fail. And listen to word of reason instead of going back to, oh, that's what I did the last time. Don't do that.
And another part where family, friends, people close to you can really have a massive impact on your stress levels are not being supportive. So in the days where you really didn't care what your health was like, you ate Twinkies, you lay in front of the TV, you ate pizza, and you drank Coca-Cola the whole time, nobody said a word. All of a sudden, you've become aware of the fact that you want to change things. You want to make a change in your life. And now you are being criticized. Now you're being questioned. And there's so many people that will help to derail you. And it tells more about them than what it actually tells about you. So always keep that in mind, that when you are on this journey, not everybody is going to support you. And that is a really important thing. And family can be so hurtful in words that they say. They think they're helpful and they're encouraging, but it increases your stress levels so much more. That's going to be a few things you're going to have to learn: what you share, what you don't. You're going to have to be prepared with answers you give, and also predetermined in yourself that I am going to do this no matter what. So it's really important that the people around you, closest to you, that you are comfortable with what decision you've made and you're going to move forward with that. Because otherwise, it is not easy to walk like this on your own.
Yeah. I have to say amen to that, because if to be on a transformational journey like this, where you are going to change not only your own health outcomes, but it's possibly the outcomes for your family. Because if they see the change in you, they're going to start thinking, you know, I don't look as healthy as you do. Maybe I should do what you did. And you can be the one where you're going to support them instead of one day they're supporting you. And that's an important distinction to make. So, and it's hard. I'm not going to take that away for anybody who walks this road alone. If you don't have that support from loved ones, it is really tough. It's better to drag one of them along with you, even if they're kicking and screaming. At least you'll have some support, or you'll have the support from yourself, trying to encourage them to do the right thing. But yeah, it's hard when you're on your own. But that's where you need to have somebody
in your court.
in your court, even
Well,
if
that's
it's
where we are, Johann.
yep.
We are not just at the sidelines, we are running and jogging with you, helping you along. And that is what we do. The both of us really, our love for helping people and seeing those changes and making sure they're not alone, because you and I both know what it feels like when you want to be the change maker.
I was just thinking about something, Yvette, and it is actually so kind of funny because people will say it's our program, our P word. Although what we do is we're joining you on your journey. It's not our journey. We've had our journey. We're just now joining you. And that is where the support comes in. And if you talk to some of our previous clients, the support that you get from us is actually top notch. It's more than what anybody would expect.
It definitely is. And talking of the one stressor that is probably a very big one, finances.
Yes.
So, financial stress in the day and age where we live, this could impact you in many ways. You could lose your job. You could have a change in your job. You could, all of a sudden you've got to pay for things that you are uncertain for. So when the stress with finances come in, and one thing that women have, I've always loved this when they say women have an extra gland. We have called a security gland. And believe it or not, for women, it's extremely stressful when there's financial stress. It puts a bigger burden on women than men. I'm not saying the men, they don't worry about it as much, but it really does affect women. So that whole security in finances, whether, can you pay for things? Are these changes that is going to be affordable? All of a sudden we tell you, no, you're going to eat different foods. You're going to eat real food. Well, what if I can't afford it? Those are the kind of stresses that you have to be prepared for. And also, Johann and I will, show you that in actual fact, it's not a real concern because eating real food, believe it or not, is actually cheaper than eating junk.
Very true.
And finances consume you. You can be so absolutely taken in by that you lose your goal because it's dragging you down. Because now maybe I have to work more. Now you're tired. Now you don't do the things you do. So I think finances can really be a big deterrent, and we don't always acknowledge that as much as what big of a stress it is.
That is true. And if you think about, I know for a fact there was times when I was in a financial dire where it's that thing that keeps you up at night. You're laying in your bed thinking about how am I going to afford life going forward? What is going to happen? And you can't keep your mind off of it. Now you've lost a night of sleep. And sleep is one of your most important things to help with your metabolism. Like if you're on a journey with us, we will ask you, how did you sleep? Do you sleep through the night? Do you have to get up 10 times a night? Are you restless how do you feel when you wake up? But if you were lying awake in bed thinking about finances, the next morning you're dead tired. And it got bigger ripple effect than you think. Because now that you get up in the morning, you have to go to work again, but you're grumpy. And now everybody in the household feels that as well. And they think it's only that you did not sleep, but it's actually your worry about finances. And I'm talking out of a man's perspective now. I totally hear what Yvette said about the security gland. And that is actually a real thing, because one thing that women want, especially in a relationship, is security. A woman wants to feel safe. A man wants to feel appreciated. And from a man's perspective, again, if the man can't provide, you feel like a failure. And that's where you just beat yourself up. What could I have done differently? And then it's, if Yvette tells me, you have to have grace with yourself. No, not too good at that.
Well, this is also, coming back to when we speak about what Jesus spoke to about Bible verses, Matthew 11:28-30, when Jesus said, "To me, all of you who are weary and carry a heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you." So that is always important for us to again revert back to the affirmations, because we're not supposed to carry these burdens on our own. And this again will strengthen us, because us as humans, we can only carry that much. And then there's going to be system failure. So that is why God built these things in for us, so we can carry that, because we have been given someone who does that for us. So when it comes to finances, that can be a massive stressor for many reasons. But you've got to be aware that, like Johann said, sleep is probably going to be more important than worrying about it all night. So then we come to another one, which is work. So what happens, Johann? You've been in situations, I've been, things at work change. Work changes, hours change. How does it affect all of us?
Yes. And when we talk about work change, it can be anything. It can be a loss of a job, which is a big one. But sometimes it can also be a promotion. And sometimes we don't prepare ourselves for that promotion, because, like me in the pharmacy world, if you go from being a store employee to becoming now a district manager or a regional manager, things change, and it changes very rapidly. Where you're used to having a lunch break where you can actually sit down and eat something, now your time is not your own anymore. So all of a sudden, you don't think about meals, you don't think about rest periods, because you're brand new in this position. You just go, 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 because you want to make your mark and you want to show the people who appointed you in that position that they did not make a mistake. And again, you probably have to have a lot more grace for yourself in that situation, because you have to remember that self-care will usually takes you a lot further than just burning yourself out. And if you're on a journey, especially with us, we will remind you, but you have to have somebody to keep you accountable, to tell you, okay, you have to take your lunch and you have to eat and you have to rest and you have to sleep.
Now, with work as well, you could be in a situation where you have coworkers that you share very close relationship to. And again, those are the people that might speak into your life. Some of them might be good, some of them might be bad. You can't run away from them, because they're going to be there every day. They're not like the family member that you're not going to invite over for the barbecue anymore. This is now somebody you got to deal with every day. And these are the things that become stressful. So now you have more stressful situations at work. And we walk you through, we prepare you for what to say, what not to say, and what to keep to yourself. So in all the situations where your co-workers can influence you, probably one of the worst ones, and this is Johann and I always speak about, is Google MD. So now all of a sudden, everybody that you work with, they have become an absolute master in making a transformation. Where were they 6 months ago when you were struggling?
Yep.
So always remind yourself about that. You can just giggle by yourself and go, interesting you say that now.
And as we mentioned, we help people with low carb, high fat diets. And what you said earlier, when you were eating Twinkies and drinking Coca-Cola, they said nothing about it. But now that you're actually changing your life for the better, now they look at you and asking what's wrong with you.
You're eating real food? How could you?
Yeah.
What happened to you? Who kind of hijacked you? Talking of which, for both of us being in the pharmacy and in the medical community, this is a big one. And we always have to apologize first for some of our colleagues that are not as on the forefront of what we do. So sometimes you're going to come across some medical criticism, let's call it that way. And when you experience people in the medical world, I would sometimes call it ignorance because they've never really encountered that problem, so they've never had to go down that road. And coming from a person with, numbers and letters behind their name, this sets in doubt, fear, and worry. Because all of a sudden, but what if I'm doing is really that bad?
Me and Yvette did a lot of extensive studying outside of the normal, a lot of outside of the box, because we figured out that the box is not going anywhere. The box is putting that Band-Aid on over and over and over again with the hope that you're going to come back for another Band-Aid.
Nobody's getting out of that box.
Nobody's getting out of that box. And the reason for that is many people in our
Realm.
our traditional field, because what we do is not really our traditional field. They will tell you exactly what the media tells you to, and they will affirm and confirm everything that is propagated over the airways over and over again. And why? The box makes money. And I want to say it's not always that those medical practitioners, they don't know, true, but they're so busy that they don't take the time to go look outside of the box. It's much easier to look at everything that's in the box and just repeat it like a monkey. You can teach a monkey anything as long as they stay in the box.
And you and I have both seen it's most people we encounter that are thinking outside of the box actually went through something in their life where traditional medicine couldn't help. We both have examples of that. We've spoken about that before. But that is definitely something, because life is busy, there's not always time for somebody to go outside and go, why is this happening, and questioning it. But when there's a burning desire in you to get yourself better, that's when things change.
Yes.
So we've seen that.
And I just want to come back to the box, just for a little bit. We can move on in our box as pharmacists is selling drugs. We're just a step up from the guy on the street corner selling the illegal drugs. So if you think about that, this is saying that if the only tool in your tool belt is a hammer, and you come across a screw, then you just hit it until it looks like and frankly, that is what the box is taught to do. People in deep into pharmacy world, they are not taught to, oh, maybe I should take a screwdriver to the screw. Because the only tools they have is drugs. And I don't want to bash drugs. There's some amazing discoveries being made. Especially last year, there were a few interesting cancer drugs, although that's a whole industry that I don't really want to touch. But I've heard somebody say on the Mao movie, health is simple. Sickness is complicated.
Yeah, you're right. So, the saying that you and I always have a good chuckle about is when people come to us and they say, but they said this is not good for me. And this is again relates to the box, something that's said over and over and said so much that this lie is now become gospel truth. And I think for you and I, this is probably one of the areas where we have the hardest time to walk people back and go, okay, can we use a little bit of common sense? Can we use a little bit of thought? And again, I chuckle when I look at some of the social media things that people say, and with such confidence. And then I'm thinking, okay, so what happened to literally basic biology and thinking for yourself? And it comes back to what you and I always say, nobody with metabolic disease, with any of these issues, have a lack of metformin. Nobody has a lack of a statin drug. We are trying to move you to a journey. It's not a coincidence that we are called the medication reduction specialist, because we try to move you in a direction that would be away from that and a continuous healthy life. So I love the way you speak about with the box, because it also does give you the picture of, we used to be in the box and now we got out of the box. Thank goodness we
Yes.
weren't in the closet and now we got out the closet, because that would have been another story,
Oh, yeah,
but for
that's it.
another day.
Completely.
Okay, so let's get back on track. So one thing and this is so unbelievable. And you know what? That's why I said the devil is such a liar. When we get people on our journeys and they are fully set up, they're going to change life, and everything happens, like you said in the beginning. And lo and behold, they get sick out of nowhere. And this is no coincidence. First of all, you and I wouldn't say we're glad about it, but we kind of anticipate this happening, because this is such a revolutionary change. But we want to be there when that happens, because what are we going to do now? How are we going to walk you through this?
100%. Because one thing, if you join us on a journey or we join you on your journey, it does not make you bulletproof. It certainly does not. The same things that's out in the environment can still affect you. If you're outside and there's somebody coughing and sneezing and spreading their bugs, it's going to get on you. If you're a little bit ways through the journey, your immune system will already be functioning at a higher level. But it does not mean that you're immune to not get sick, because things can still happen to you.
And
And
stress, Johann?
stress, absolutely. If you encounter a stressful situation, even if it's just mildly stressful, that mild level of stress over even just a few days can be enough to suppress your immune system to such an extent you get in a crowd of people and where somebody's got something and now you're going home with that something. So what are you going to do? One thing, and I don't know if it's just because I'm a guy or that we're from South Africa where
Stubborn.
we're stubborn. We usually let it go for a bit because my wife says, well, if you have a headache, just take a headache pill. And it got there on its own, so it's got to leave on its own. I only will do something about that headache if it's here by the third or fourth day and it's still not breaking. Then I think, okay, let me take a Tylenol or whatever the case may be. But sometimes you have to give your body a little bit of time to fight it and not just pop that antibiotic right at the first symptom. Give it a little bit of time, because especially if you're halfway down the journey, your immune system is already in a much better place than what it was when you started out with it. So let your immune system do its thing. And that you know that sometimes that sniffles is actually your immune system working. It means it's working. If you had no symptoms, well, maybe your immune system is not that great.
And part of the teaching that we do in the transformational journey, you'll hear us say that a lot. Our bodies are made so incredibly that if you give it enough rest, you give it the nutrients, it will heal itself. And this is a very good example. Lo and behold, we're not saying if you're running a massive fever and you are coughing up blood. No, we're not being silly. You do go seen to, go get medication. But a lot of times what you were saying there is those symptoms is your body actually fighting this.
Yes.
And listen to those, because that can teach you that how strong am I? How strong is my immune system? Where maybe a couple of years ago, you would have been in bed for a week. And now all of a sudden for a day and a half, you feel a bit funky and there you go.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, But something that I always joke with people is when you do feel sick and you revert back to old habits, what you were saying earlier is, it's my throat is sore, so I need a tub of ice cream. Or, my tummy is upset. I definitely need toast and honey. It's so easy to fall back in. Maybe you were taught that when you were 8 years old,
Yeah.
but it comes back.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. One of the discussions I had with a patient yesterday in the pharmacy was exactly that, because he is now using one of these new injectable weight loss things. And I told him, well, you have to focus on your protein. And he said, oh, yes, but yesterday he did not feel that great. So, and he remembers eating, where his mom used to make him these tacos with I don't know what else on it. Tacos is the wrongest thing you can eat if you're sick.
Or Jello.
Oh, Jello. Yes. Oh, I remember the Jello.
No,
So
no nutrition.
no nutrition. It might be comforting to your emotions, but that's really it. Because all that amount of sugar, your immune system is already taking a hammering. Then you give it some sugar, and now it's even worse off. Because how many hours does one single can of Coca-Cola dampen your immune system? I think it's something like 8 hours. And some people drink more than just one Coca-Cola.
And for coming back to what you were saying about the person jumping onto an antibiotic, and that years ago they did a study, I think it was over in Sweden, that with one treatment of antibiotic, it sets your gut bacteria something back like 2 years. So yeah, we are trying to get the reset of the metabolism, trying to get you healthy, and one little treatment like that, boop, sets you back. So
Yes.
I'm not saying don't, but be very diligent before you do.
Yes, for sure.
And that's a question to ask.
And really, when you're sick, go see the doctor.
For
We're
sure.
not saying that you should not see the doctor when you're sick. But when you just have a little bit of symptoms, how many times have people gone to the doctor, walk out with the antibiotic, and it was actually just allergies? And
True.
the doctor is not, some doctors will not prescribe you something for a virus. They will just tell you, oh, it's a virus, go get some cough medicine or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
But not all of them,
Yeah, that's true.
because in our culture, people feel serviced by the doctor if they walk out of there with a prescription.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you feel serviced by the medical practitioner, are you now going to stay away and say, oh, I'm never seeing that doctor again? No, you feel good. So guess what?
Good point.
The next time you're going to go back,
It's a
because
reward.
it's a reward.
Yeah.
You were rewarded with that prescription.
And now one of the things that this plays a big role on people. We go down this journey. Everything goes hunky-dory or not. Lots of things happen, but then the big one comes in. That's the weight stall, the plateau. Things aren't going the way you intended. That goal there on the wall is now diminishing. And this is something you have to be mentally prepared for, because weight loss, I used an example earlier today. If I tell you I take $10 every day, and at the end of the month, I've got 30 days, I got $300. If what I put into my body, and I say within 30 days, I'm going to be 10 pounds down, it doesn't work like that.
Mm-mm.
And we just went through a whole bunch of reasons why. Plus, the body changes. We've got hormonal things. You might not sleep well. There's a magnitude of stuff. But again, that is not a reason for you to give up on yourself and give up on your journey, because everything in life there's a reason why it happens. There's a regrouping. What you said earlier on about the flying, Johann, start planning, be prepared. What am I doing wrong? Go back to basics. But this is something that if this happens, if life throws it at you, how do you respond?
Yes. And a plateau can be very discouraging for people. But you have to, I honestly feel, and I mentioned it earlier when we had a discussion, I feel if you understand what's going on in your body, and especially when those plateaus happen, Many times it's an energy balance, like a homeostasis. Sometimes it's a manufacturing balance. Because I said in a previous podcast that our bodies is not a car. You don't put gas in and you drive the miles out. Our bodies are biochemical factories. Sometimes we need to make some stuff. And sometimes we made enough of it, and now things just need to resettle for a while. You have to put it in your mouth, in your mind now. How are you going to deal with that? What are you going to do? And if you have coaches like me and Yvette, we will talk you through it, but don't get on that journey. Now you get that plateau, and now you think, oh, this is not working.
We
Because,
talk about non-scale victories, Johann.
yes,
There's a couple of
100%.
So we point out things that's not always related to scale, because you and I are not very big proponents of the scale, because I think that can be evil, it can be destructive. For other people, it's really fine, but not everybody handles it like that. So non-scale victories, really relishing in certain areas that you have grown, you've changed, you're not going back, then this plateau and the weight gain is really nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a little bump in the road.
Yes. That non-scale victories is actually the thing that you really do need to focus on. And one of the symptoms that we discussed earlier was the cognitive decline. And that to me, because probably I'm an alpha male, whatever you want to call it, but my brain is my work. If I can't use my brain, there's something that I'm very sensitive to, is how I can recall certain things and how my brain deals with certain situations. Once you start the journey, make a mental note where you're at right now. How do you focus on things? Can you recall numbers? Can you recall telephone numbers? And then when you get into that plateau, think about, okay, how am I doing now? If I compare to day one. So take that non-scale victory, because that reduction in inflammation can be huge. It can be tremendous. And that is not usually something that you're always going to see on a scale.
As a woman, I would say, I'm not saying going shopping, but go to the store, try on some clothing. You might be surprised. You go in 1 or 2 sizes smaller. It's such an uplifting thing. You don't have to buy it yet because maybe we're not done yet. Maybe that's not you who you ultimately want to be. But that experience is uplifting. It's rewarding. Take a picture of it. Set a goal for that. So that is the non-scale victories that keep us going. Everybody has different dynamics that really keeps us on the road, but find what is important to you and set that as a secondary or primary goal versus only everything on the scale. So that is a really important thing to do from the get-go.
Yeah, 100%. I
And that
agree.
goes back to your mind.
And it goes back to your mind, and you feel better, and you'll just continue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So to answer our question, Johann, life happens.
Yep, we're all in this world together.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody is exempt from a life event. And the biggest thing is you don't know when it's going to come. But to prepare, especially your mind ahead of the time, then you'll know how you're going to handle it, how to deal with it. It might still be a shock to you. For example, I worked at a pharmacy where there's a lot of elderly people cared for by their children. And the children knew that that day is coming. So you prepare, it's still a shock, but you know how to prepare for it. You have already done the preparation. Now you know how to deal with it, although it's still probably not fun.
Well, you just mentioned a word that's probably in one of my lifelong sayings. Maybe I've said it on the podcast. I don't know. But one of the things that I've always said is not always important what happens to you in your life. It could be ups, it could be downs. But what is important is how you're going to handle it. And I've lived by that for many, many years because it is ultimately my choice and my decision how am I going to handle it?
Yes, and if you went off the rails, this is something that I heard someone say once. It says, I never lose. I either win or I learn.
Fantastic.
So if that event happened and you did grab the tub of ice cream, and don't beat yourself up, go sit back and evaluate. How and why did this happen, and what did I learn from it? Because you did learn from it.
Definitely sure. Well, this has been awesome. We've been down in the dumps. We went up to the hills. We're down in the valleys, and we like all excited. So
We
I
made a
hope
few
that
circles.
we did, definitely. But hopefully this would be, shed some light on certain things for people, and also what we do, how we
Yeah,
help.
absolutely. If our calendar links will be in the show notes. If you need to speak to somebody, if you put on that size 34 or 38 and it's kind of tight, talk to us. We might just be able to help. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Views and opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and are intended for educational and informational purpose only. This podcast does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The information shared should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice from your personal health care provider. Always consult your physician, pharmacist, or qualified health professional before making any changes to medications, supplements, or health regimens. We are also promoters of Neolife Nutritionals, beauty, and household products, and this stems from our knowledge of their purity and the company's reputation to provide products of outstanding quality. While we may discuss our experiences in the retail pharmacy setting and share insights into functional medicine, our conversations reflect our professional perspectives and personal opinions, and not those of our employers, affiliated organizations, or licensing boards. By listening to From Pills to Purpose podcast, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own health decisions and agree that the host and guests are not liable for any outcomes resulting from the use of the information discussed in this podcast.